Hi boys and girls. Okay, so I am right now going to show you how we're going to do our spring landscape for art club. So if you didn't get to do art club with us today, you can do this on your own at home. So what you're going to need is a piece of paper that you want to be landscape, side to side, horizontal, not portrait, not tall. Okay, we want it to be side to side. And the first thing you're going to do really lightly with a pencil, I'm not going to do mine as light so you can see what I'm doing, but you're going to draw a line towards the top of the page. This is the ground. This is the sky. Next, you are going to use a crayon. You do need to use crayon for this part. And you're going to make a pathway that starts here and gets smaller and then gets wider as we go far closer to the bottom of the page, because when things are closer to us, they're bigger. So I'm going to make kind of like a zigzag line, and I'll hold it up in just a second so you can see what I'm talking about. And same thing over here, but this time on this side, when I hold it up, you will see what I mean. Gets a little closer together here and wider as we go further apart. Now we're going to make a path of trees with our crayons that go from here to there. So if a tree is in front in the beginning of the page, it's going to be a lot bigger. Let's talk about how to make a tree first. This tree needs to be as tall as that horizon line we made. That's what this is called, is a horizon line. So I'm going to start by making a rectangle, and then I'm going to color inside. That's the trunk of the tree. Okay, now I'm going to make branches. So what I'm going to do in this area is branch off like this and go all the way out to the edge here and make some more. And we can make this thicker by just kind of coloring a little bit along the side of it. This tree is going to be our biggest, so it's really going to extend through most of the page. We don't want it to be too thick when we get to the top though, because that's kind of like where the branches start to, you don't see them as much, they get a lot thinner. Okay, next I'm going to add another tree here. So this rectangle will go to the horizon line too, but it started higher up on my paper. And then these branches are just going to start overlapping into this one. That's okay, we want that to happen. Some of the ones on the side over here maybe won't, but we kind of want them to start to loop against each other. Okay, I'm going to make another tree here. Same thing. This tree in the back is really tiny, so you're not really going to see much going on there. We're going to do the same thing on this side. So I've already started doing that on this part of my page. I have two trees over here. So I started with my big one, my medium one, make a smaller one here. And I'm starting directly with brown, so that way I don't even have to like make, this is kind of just, we don't worry about making mistakes. We're going to turn our mistakes into beautiful parts of our picture. Okay, so now I have a pathway where my trees get bigger and smaller as we go. Now we get to do the painting part, which is the fun part. All right, I can put my crayons away. We're going to start by painting our sky. I am going to use watercolor paint, but if you use liquid paint, the kind that you need to pour out, that also will work really great for this project. You just got to be careful not to make it too thick and mess up all of our crayon work that we did, okay? I'm going to use a brush that has water already in it, so I don't need to dip mine in water, but you're going to want, if you do not have this kind, which probably most of you do not have, but you can just use a regular brush and put it in water, and you can use different size brushes if you want to, or just the same one. So I have my cup of water here too. My watercolor palette, if you guys decide to use watercolor, or like I said, you could have a plate out with paint to paint color. Okay. We're going to start with our sky here. We're going to leave an area of the sky. Basically what lines up, I'm going to use my pen actually to show you what I'm going to do. What lines up with the pathway, okay, so we have like kind of a little arch there. That's going to be our sun, so it's going to stay white, and then we're going to go away from that and add color to make it look like a sunset in the spring. So to do that, I'm going to start with yellow, and I'm going to make a really light yellow. So that means it needs to be water and yellow. Let me move my palette over here so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to just make a little pile up here so I can mix it with water. And I'm going to go right around that white that I left. Now, if you notice, I'm going right on top of my crayon because crayon blocks out paint. So even though I'm going to paint on top of it, it's not going to be able to go away, which is good. That's what you want to happen. If you're using tempera paint, it should also work okay as long as you mix your paint with a little bit of water. So you want your brush to have water on it at all times, even if you're using acrylic or tempera paint. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. And adding to my yellow arch that I just made around my sun. And then I'm going to go from yellow and I'm going to start using a yellow orange. So to do that, I'm going to take my yellow here and mix it with orange. Because we're going to transition to orange here. So I got my yellow orange. It's not going to be that much different than regular yellow. Just a little bit more orangey. That's going to go next to this arch and then continue to paint. And like I said, it doesn't matter that I'm painting on top of my branches because I'm using paint and paint is moving away from that crayon. Crayon is making a nice block for my paint. Keep going. So that way we get through most of our sky with that yellow-orange color. Like that. Now I still have more sky, so now I'm going to transition to just orange by itself. Palette with orange here. Just orange by itself. And you kind of overlap them a little bit if you do that. And I think maybe in 3rd grade we kind of did for Halloween, you guys might remember, or you might not. That's okay if you don't. But we did like a sky that was like a scary night sky. And we did overlapping colors like this for our Halloween project. Now we're making it a nice pretty spring project. Keep going till I get to a lot. Now the lot more of the sky is going to be orange. So we're going to keep adding our orange here. If it gets a little bit dark, all I have to do is add more water to it and it can kind of blend away and not be so dark because I made that part a little bit too dark. Okay, and we're going to end by adding that all the way to the edge. Okay, and I got to finish on this edge, adding my orange with water in it. All the way to the edge. Nice. Okay. Now we're done with our sky. So let me hold it up. Mine, if it drips when I hold it up, it's okay. But yours, keep laying flat because we know how we don't move a wet painting when it's wet. All right, next we're going to move to the ground. So our pathway, let's make our pathway kind of like a gray color. So that would be black with a lot of water. And since I don't really actually have a black, I am going to make a color. So I'm going to take some blue and mix some orange into it, which will make it kind of a grayish color. So if you see my palette right here, I mixed some blue and some orange together, and I'm going to add a lot of water so it's not too dark. And I am going to paint my pathway with these colors, but I want it to get lighter when it gets close to the sun because it's close to the sun, right? So I'm going to start down here at the bottom where my beginning of the path goes. And then I'm going to keep adding water to my brush so that when it blends to the sun, it gets really, really light. If you can see, it gets from darker to lighter. And I'm only working on one side right now. I'll go to the other side in just a minute. Okay, so now I'm going to take my paint again. I'm going to go on this side, start with just paint, so that way it's a little bit darker. And then And if I squeeze my pen, then it just adds more water for me. What you would do is just keep dipping it in your water, and it will get lighter as we go farther away from us. And stop at that sun there. Here's our cool pathway. Like it's gravel or something like that, right? These would be really great pictures for Mother's Day if you're thinking about what can you get your mom, since we can't really go to stores and stuff. Moms love getting art. I know, obviously, I like when Lillian makes me pictures, and she's only 2. Okay, next we are going to give our picture, we're letting our sky kind of dry right now, so we're working on everything else besides that. We're going to give our picture some grass. So to do that, we're going to make green here. So I'm going to, and if you forget which makes green and you don't have a green, blue and yellow make green. I'm going to do the same thing with my green grass though. I'm going to make it darker at the bottom and lighter as it gets towards the edge of the page. The rest of the ground is going to be green. And if it gets a little bit on the tree, it's okay because it's crayon. If you haven't had a chance to join us for art clubs, we do them on Fridays at 2 o'clock. I know when it's nice out, you probably want to be outside, which is totally a great thing. So that's why I post these videos. So if you didn't get to do it with us, you can do it with us later. I like to take a couple touches of yellow, and in the lighter part of the grass, which is where it's close to the sun, I just put a couple spots of yellow in there. And I continue with my green over here. My ground where it's between the trees because we want to make sure we get that all filled in nicely. Ta-da! One side done. Okay, I'm moving on to my other side. So I'm going to do the same thing that I just did before. Art club is really good for rainy days. So if you have a rainy day and you realize it's Friday and you want to do art with us, that's wonderful. Or if you just want to watch our videos on rainy days, also good. Okay, I'm going to keep carrying my green on out here. Remember I told you I like to have a little bit of yellow in my green when it gets closer to the sun, because it makes it nice and bright, like the sun is shining on it. All right, so now we have a grass and pathway. Okay, the last step is going to be to add our beautiful blooming flowers, because since it's springtime, the flowers are going to be blooming. So not just green petals. Now we're going to be giving them beautiful flowery kind of shapes. So to do this, we're going to use less water. That means our colors are going to be a lot brighter. And I'm going to start with some red. And I'm going to, like I said, less water. I'm not making it super watery. All I'm going to do is start where all the branches are, kind of dotting my brush. So I'm not really like making a certain shape or anything like that. I'm just dotting my brush where all the branches are, which is going to fill a lot of the top of our page. So that's why we don't want them to be too close together, because we still want to see our sky. We're just trying to make it look like there's flowers in these trees up here. And we can go back through with another color in just a minute, which we will do. But that's a start. Okay, now I'm going to go on this side and do the same thing with my red. I'm going to blot. I'm not doing a whole bunch of water, so I'm not putting my brush in tons of water. If it starts to get too dry, I have to give it a little bit of water for watercolor to work. But for acrylic, you don't even have to use any water for this part, or tempera. Okay, now maybe if I really like that red. I could make an orange to go with it. I could add white spots in with it. Or I could make like a purple color to go in there. I think I'm going to just take my orange and give some orange spots. And then I would probably go through with some white and add some white. Now, if I'm using watercolor, I don't have white. So that's why if you are using watercolor like I am right now, I might have to use a white crayon, or if I have water or regular other kinds of paint that's white, I could go through and do that with white. All right. Or I could just leave it like this, a beautiful spring pathway. If you decide to do this project, please send me a picture of what you do. I can't wait to see, guys. Keep up the great work, and I hope you are enjoying our little art activities. Bye, everybody.